Okay, now we are going to start Unit 10, legal descriptions. So what is the purpose of a legal description when it comes to real estate? Okay, it's used to describe the property in a way that uniquely identifies it from any other partial. So a survey is a drawing of a partial showing its boundary lines, the exterior boundary. Licensees should take care to insert legal descriptions into sales contracts from a reliable document, such as a deed or check the property appraiser's website. Okay, it's very important because if that's not properly inserted into the contract, it could void the contract. So when you populate that, you pull from the tax record or you pull from the property appraiser site, which you'll learn that as we go. But it's very, very important that is exactly correct. So let's look at the type of legal descriptions. There's 3 different types that exist. You have meets and bounds, the government survey system, and lot and block description. Okay. So let's look at meets and bounds first. The way you can remember meets and bounds is the oldest method of a land description. Meets refers to distance, bounds refers to the direction. And the point of beginning is referred to as the POB in the explanation of the property. So the point of beginning is the exact reference starting point. So an example is like starting at POB, the first boundary is determined from the legal description that indicates the direction and the distance to the first corner of the partial. And then the next explanation takes you to the next corner and so on. And it brings you back to the starting point. And that shows you the size of and the shape of the land. So the corners of the partial and the POB are identified with fixed markers called monuments. So remember, meets and bounds is the oldest type of land description. And who gets monuments? Old people, right? It's the old monuments are dedicated to old people, right? Old things. So you remember, meets and bounds has monuments, right? So it begins with either north or south, followed by the number of degrees, up to 90 degrees. The direction that follows a number of degrees indicates whether the direction is east or west of due north or south. And examples, north, 45 east. So directions are given in degrees, minutes, and seconds. So when you have a compass and you're measuring, you can say north 45 degrees. So you know, like the starting point, the POB is here. It can be north 45 degrees and whatever that goes on the calculation. And then 25 minutes and 20 seconds. So you go through the tools and it takes you 25 minutes, 20 seconds, and it shows you how far that first line goes for the property. Does that make sense?
Yes. So
this was
somewhat, I wanted to see it, but yeah.
Yeah, this was used in the 13 colonies. This was used before computers, before equipment. This was used ancient times, like back in other countries and things. So even before the United States was founded. So meets and bounds was the original way. Okay. So you have a compass, right? So if you're, this is south, west, east, north. So depending on what direction, this is 45, 45. So if your point of beginning is here and you're going north 45 degrees and it tells you how many minutes and seconds, it would give you some kind of shape in here, right? As you're going. So this is kind of how it would look like compass wise, like on a compass. Okay, so that's really what you need to know about that. Okay. So that's kind of like what you need to know about meets and bounds when it comes to testing. It's the oldest. It was done in the 13 colonies. It's not done in Florida. There's no meets and bounds in Florida. Okay. And they have monuments. The areas are marked by monuments. Okay. Now let's look at the description by government survey. Okay. Identify a partial by referencing 2 intersecting lines. It's based on a grid system. Okay. This is used in Florida, but not in the original 13 states. So what we have here in Florida, we use the government survey, and we also have lot and block as well, which you'll see in a minute. Okay, so the way this description is explained, it begins reference is intersection of north-south lines, either called the principal meridian, and the east-west line called the baseline. So you have the principal meridian goes north and south, and the baseline goes east and west. There's 36 principal meridians and baselines. So there's 36 lines that go across, and then 36 lines that go across. Tallahassee is the principal meridian and baseline. Okay, and I'll show you in a second. You'll see a chart of this. So the vertical lines going this way. Okay, so you have vertical north-south range lines. They're parallel to the principal meridian. So the principal meridian's here, and then to the left of it, you have lines, and they're called range lines, and to the right, you have range lines. These lines are every 6 miles. So principal meridian, 6 miles, 6 miles, 6 miles, 6 miles. Same thing the other way, 6 miles, 6 miles, 6 miles. Okay, it results in a 6-mile wide vertical north and south strip called a range. Now, these lines are numbered beginning at the principal meridian. Okay, so the principal meridian here. Okay, the first vertical strip east would be of the PM of the principal meridian is range 1 east, then range 2 east, range 3 east, range 4 east, right? Then the principal meridian's here. The first line to the west is range 1 west, range 2 west, and it keeps going out as far as it goes. The range numbers increase the further away from the principal meridian you go. Okay, so that's the vertical lines with the principal meridian.
Got it.
Now you have a township line. Okay, township line runs horizontal every 6 miles parallel to the baseline. So these are a series of lines 6 miles apart on either side of the baseline, up and down. They're 6 mile wide horizontal east-west strips they're called tier or townships. The numbered begin at the baseline. So for example, here's the baseline. The first one north will be T1N, T1N, T2N, T3N, T4N, same thing. The first one south will be T1 south, T2 south, T3 south, all the way down. It keeps increasing. Again, the township numbers increase moving further from the baseline. Okay, so townships is a grid pattern formed by intersection of range lines and township lines. So remember, range lines go every 6 miles this way. Township lines go every 6 miles this way. So those little sections in there that these lines create, they're called townships. And that township, because they're 6 miles apart each way, those townships are 6 miles by 6 miles square. So they're 36 square miles per township. So each square created is 36 square miles, 36 square miles. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, so it's identified by the town. The way the property is identified is it's identified by the township, tier, and range. So for example, T2S R3E is located in the second tier of townships down, and to the right or south, it's south of the baseline. So the baseline is here. If it's T2 south, you got to go 2 down. And then it says R3 east. So the third range east of the principal meridian is where that would be. So you go to the principal meridian, you go T2 south, you go down 2, and you go R3 east. You go over here, and it would be that township over there, right? So here's an example. Here's your principal meridian. Here's your baseline. So this is T1 south, T2 south, T3, T4, T5, right? All the way down. Same thing north, right? So the question was T2 south, R2E. So you go, okay, so T1 south, T2 south, R2E. Boom. That's the township we're talking about. And that's 6 miles by 6 miles, right? Because here's the principal meridian. That's 6 miles, 6 miles, 6 miles. Here's the baseline. That's 6 miles, right? Does it all make sense? Okay, good. So if the question tells you, T2 south, R2E, you gotta see this in your head. It's not something that's on like you gotta go, okay, T2 south, R2E. It's over here, right? And they may ask you, okay, if township T2 south, R2E, what's below it? Well, it's T2 south, R3E, right? That's kind of how the question would look like if you see something like that, right? Okay, so remember, township lines, okay, the direction of township lines and range lines are east and west, right?
Yep.
So remember, township starts with a T. The top of the T goes east and west, right? Range line starts with an R. The R goes north and south, right? This is a little memory tool. So if you're trying to figure it out, a range line goes north and south, a township line goes east and west. It's easy to remember it that way.
Question for you. So the principal meridian will be the first, will be the middle line that is going vertically, right? And then how do you call any other lines that are going vertically? The other line?
Principal meridian will be going vertically. That's the main line. That's the starting point. The baseline goes right and left. That's that starting point. So you see, when you go right, it's range 1 east, range 2 east, range 3 east, range 4 east, range 5 east, because that's to the east. Here you go range that because that's the center, right? So anything to the left of it is west, anything to the east of it is east. So principal meridians here. So anything to the left is R1 west, R2 west, R3 west, R4 west, all the way out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so just double check. So I kind of want to make my own definition on this one. So principal meridian, it's gonna be the vertical middle line. That's
yes,
the one that
it's
pretty
the
much
0 point. It's the 0 point.
it's a 0 point vertically. Okay. Baseline is a 0 point horizontally. Now
yes.
from there, you have township lines, which are the ones that go horizontally, either from the from the baseline? No. From the principal meridian, wouldn't it be?
No, the principal meridian are range lines. These are range lines. This line's a range line. This line's a range line. This line's a baseline, or this line is a township line, township line, township line.
Okay.
The ones that go left and right are township lines. The ones that go up and down are baselines, north and south.
It's like if you're graphing points for a math equation, you start at 0, 0, x and y, the domain and range.
Mm-hmm.
You see how it says T1N and T1 south? The baseline is between there. It's at 0, 0, 0x, 0y.
Got it. Yeah, I do remember that.
Or 0 north, south, 0 east, west.
Got it.
That makes it. So this is the baseline. This is the 0 points. The red is the 0 points, and it's either east or west, north or south, right?
Okay.
So you got T2 south, which is this line. This whole line is T2 south, and it tells you R2E, so you know it's here, right? So you know that property would be located in that township. That's how it works, and it keeps breaking down, which we're going to go over next. You need to know this part of this for the test because you'll be questioned on 1 or 2 things. Okay, so you have the lines now, right? Now let's look at this. Now you have a township, right? Remember the township is 6 miles by 6 miles, 36 square miles, right?
Yeah.
So now, okay, so each township is broken down into 36 sections. And that is a section is 1 mile by 1 mile, right? So if you have 6 miles by 6 miles, that's 36 square miles. Then inside of that, it's broken down into 36 sections, which is 1 mile by 1 mile. Okay, so you need to remember this number. A section is 1 square mile. 1 square mile equals 640 acres. You got to know that number. 640 acres equals 1 square mile. Okay, and the way these sections are numbered, they start in the northeast corner with the number 1. And then they basically they start in the northeast corner, beginning at the number 1 in the upper right corner, and that would be section 1. And then they go to the left, like a snake pattern. Section 2, section 3, section 4, section 5, section 6. You go down. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, down. 13, all the way down to get to 36. It's like a snake pattern. Okay, so the way this would look is section 36, like in the description, section 36, township 1S, R1W. And then you would locate the section and then find the subdividing sections. So this is what it looks like. So here, this would be a section, right? There would be 36 of these, right? This is 1 mile by 1 mile. So inside that big township of 36 miles by 36 miles, you're going to have 36 blocks, 1 by 1. And then they're numbered to 36. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, all the way down to 36. So if they tell you a property is like that description here, you first thing you do is you find the township and range, and then you go to the section. So if this is T1S R1W, section 36 is right here. So you know that property, you're narrowing it down to where that property is. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Could you go back, please?
Yep.
So section 36, T1S, R1W.
Right.
Okay.
But all you're looking at right now is section 36. You're not seeing the T1S R1W. That's just showing you how it would look on a description. Right? So,
Okay.
so let me show you. So T1S, right? So this is how it would look on the map, like how you're looking. So T1S, right? So this is T1S, R1W is here. So it would be this block, right? Now inside of this block, there's going to be 36 blocks. Remember, numbered like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right?
Yeah.
So for example, T1S, R1W is here for that description.
Mhm.
Now, this is the block we're in. Now, this is what the block now looks like. That block we're in now looks like this. See how it's breaking it down? And it's telling you it's section 36. So now you found T1S, R, whatever that was. And now you got to go find 36. So here, the property is going to be within this block, right? So now you see how you took the whole area? You narrowed it down to a township. Now you narrowed it down to a section, right?
Could you show me the formula again? Or not the formula, but the prior is that one.
Right here.
So section 36. Question for you. Is that how the whole number would look like? Is that everything we would
I'm going to
get?
show you. Like there's still more to it. We're not done yet. There's still more to it.
Okay. I'm just trying to find.
Yeah. There's still more. This isn't just, you got to narrow it down even more. So there's still more to it. There's a calculation. So you come down here, and now we're in section 36. Okay. So you just think about it to this point, right?
Okay.
Now, more of the terms to measuring. Okay. Now you have a check. Okay. A check is a square 24 miles on each side created by the intersection guide, meridian, and correction lines. And that breaks it down 4 more. And I'll show you in a second. You have the township. Okay. Let's go back a second. The township is 6 square miles, right? That's the T1S, whatever it was, right? That's 6 miles by 6 miles. That's broken up by the lines, right? The township lines and the range lines. Township is 6 square miles, each side containing 36 miles, which is 36 sections. Also, east-west strip of land, north-south strip of land of the baseline. So remember, it goes north and south, east and west.
Okay. Question.
Go ahead.
Do we have something called townships and another thing that's called township lines?
Yeah, the township is the actual square. That's 36 square miles.
Okay.
The township lines are the lines that go left and right, east and west.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. And the lines that go up and down are called range lines, right?
Yeah.
So the section, okay, is 1 square mile by 1 square mile. And that contains 640 acres. You got to remember 640 acres. Okay.
Got it.
So now a quarter section. So now you have a section that's 1 mile by 1 mile. That gets broken down into 4. Now, how many acres in a square mile?
How many acres? 640.
Right. So if that section is broken into 4, what's 640 divided by 4?
640 divided by 4, that's 200 and, what is it, 4? No.
It's on the screen. 160.
Oh, there you go.
It's cool. Don't drive your head so hard, like brain so hard. So now if you have 640 square acres in a section, which is 1 mile by 1 mile, you cut that into 4. It's 160, 160, 160, 160. Right? It breaks that into 4. Now,
Got it.
a government lot is a fractional piece of land less than a full quarter section located along the bank of lakes and streams. So if you have a quarter section, 160, 160, 160, 160, and one of them has a lake in it and it takes some of the land out, that would be called a government lot. Okay. Just terminology. Now here's how it works. Remember you have this section that's 36 by 36, 6 miles by 6 miles.
Yeah.
And then that's broken down into sections, 36 of them, 1 mile by 1 mile.
Yeah.
This is your 1 mile by 1 mile. Then they break this down into 4, right? This is a quarter section. This would be 160 acres. This would be 160 acres. This would be 160 acres. This would be 160 acres, right? Then it's divided down again. Divided. 40 acres, 40 acres, 40 acres, 40 acres. Then it's divided again. 10 acres, 10 acres, 10 acres, 10 acres. Then it's divided again. 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. It keeps getting divided down to find the property. You don't need to do this physically. You just have to know it mentally and know how to calculate it. And that's what I'm going to show you now. Okay. So if they tell you the northeast quarter of the section, it's this one. The southwest quarter is this one. The northwest quarter is this one. The southeast quarter is this one, right? And you know how it's going to break down. So for example, a 2.5 acre is this one right here. So this would be, if they're giving you this here and they're trying to get you to this section, this is where the property would be. Does that make sense?
It does. I cannot really see the formula. So like how I'm gonna get there and what
I'm going to show it to you right now. That's the next here. This calculation, you need to know this for the test. You're going to see this 1 or 2 ways, maybe both. Okay. So here's how you calculate it. It's very simple. It's not confusing at all. So this is telling you an example. The southwest quarter of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter of section 12, township 3S R4E. The way you calculate this, you always start with 640 acres, right? Because 640 acres is 1 square mile. Remember?
Yeah.
So the way you calculate it is you look at the problem and you take the denominators. 4, 4, 4, 4. You don't have to pay attention to this. So you always start with 640. And it's divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 4. So you just do the math. Take your calculator, because you'll have a calculator on the screen. You can't use a physical calculator or paper. You have a notepad and a calculator on the screen when you're doing your test. So all you do is you take your calculator and you look at the problem, right? There's the problem. You start with 640. And how many times do you divide it by 4? You got 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever this number is what you divide it by. If it was 4, 4, 2, 4, you would go 4, 4, 2, 4, right? So whatever the number is, so you take 640 divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 4. Your answer is 2.5 acres.
Got it.
It looks confusing. It looks hard, but that's all it is. You always start with the 640. They don't tell you that. So 640, you have to remember in your head. Okay, so 640 divided by the denominators. Okay. Now, that's the division way to figure it out. You can also figure it out through multiplication. The reverse of the problem. So however your brain works better, you can do it that way too. So this is an example by using division. The way I do it is this way. Now, if it's easier for you to remember, you can do it this way too. So you have the same question: southwest quarter, northeast quarter, southeast quarter, northwest quarter of section 11 TS2 or T2S R3E. You can take the 4, the 4, the 4, the 4, and multiply them, and then divide 640 by 256. So you take the 4 times the 4 times the 4 times the 4, it gives you 256. Divided by 640. Oh, hold on. Sorry. You got to go 640 divided by 256. It gives you 2.5. It gives you the same answer. It's just however you want to think about it mathematically. For me, it's easier this way. I just take 640, 2.5. Right? So that's how you calculate that. Okay? Is that good? Clear?
Yes, it is good.
Okay, now let's look at this. Here's an example. I want you to do this now. We're gonna look at this, right? We'll go over this one, but then there'll be a sample. Okay, if and is in the middle of the description, when you're calculating the acres on either side of and, you have to separately, the and separates them. It makes them two problems. Then you have to add them to find the acres. Okay, so an example is, if you have the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter and the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter of section 21 T4N R5W, that and makes it two problems that have to be added together. If there was no and, it's just one calculation. Does that make sense?
And by and, you're referring to E and A and D, right?
A and D, right? And, right. So if there's an and in the middle of the description, you calculate acres on either side of that and then you add them together. So this one, you start, remember, you always start with what? 640.
Mm-hmm.
And you have 1 4, 2 4s, and then you have an and. So you're going to take 640, divide it by 4, divide it by 4. That gives you 40 acres, right? So that's your first number. Now you have the and. The and is a plus sign. Guess how you remember it. The and's a plus sign. So you have 40 acres. Now you're going to come to the next one. You got to start with 640 again. And it's divided by 4, divided by 4. So you do 640 divided by 4, divided by 4. It's 40 acres. So you take 40 plus 40, and it equals 80. And your answer would be 80 acres. If there was no and in there, it would be 640 divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 4. The answer would be 2.5 acres. You see the difference?
I do. Quick question for you. So I understand the formula. I understand how it works. But what does that 80 acres then signify? Like, what does it mean?
That tells you the size of this partial.
Oh, okay.
So in T4N R5W, this partial would be 80 acres. Now, this is something we don't do this. You need to know how to calculate it. This is not done by us. We don't have to do this for the deals. This is all done by the title company, the survey, all that stuff. But you have to know how it works.
Gotcha. I think for me, my brain is a little weird. Just like you have mentioned in your videos, I really need to know kind of details as to like what that.
I'm the same way.
So that I can attach it. So that's why the 80 acres has been like a little. I'm like, okay, I understand how to get to the 80, right, but like, what does the 80 mean?
So does it make sense now how I explain it to you?
It makes sense that that's a side. I mean, that is the size.
So here, section southeast 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of section 21 T4N R5W is 40 acres. So this here is 40 acres. That's what they're saying right
Yeah.
here. That there of this section and township and range is 40 acres. So it's asking you, figure it out. So this math problem tells you this is 40 acres. And they're asking you, how big is this one? Same thing, that's 40 acres. So they're asking you to say, okay, well, this and this is how many acres of this? So when you add it up, it's 8. So this section and this section is 80 acres of section 21 T4N R5W.
It's
that make
two
sense?
blocks inside of section 21, and you're trying to figure out the size of those blocks within section 21.
Does that make sense now?
Go back to slide 17. So you see those two little blocks in there, one's filled in blue and one's hollow.
So
It's
you
like they're
see-
asking you to
you
figure
tell-
out
it's,
how
it's
large
saying,
each of
it's
those
saying
blocks
these
are.
2 blocks. See, it's saying southwest, blah, 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 wherever it is. It's basically saying these 2 blocks are 80 acres. Right? 40 and 40. Right?
Got it. Okay.
Basically, it's telling you that, but it's in this quarter here. It's showing you here, but it's basically this quarter here, and it's saying 80 acres is what it's saying. See? East quarter and the northwest quarter. Actually, it's the southeast quarter and northwest quarter. So it's this one and this one. So it's this one and this one actually. See how it's like these two? Southeast quarter, northwest quarter, right? So 40 and 40. It's 80. So
So is
that's
that-
what it's saying.
Is that the size of a property then?
No, it's the size of the area they're asking you to measure.
Oh, I think I'm getting something. So
Basically,
essentially,
this is telling you to measure this area of that section. That's all it's telling you. It's not telling you find a house. It's saying how big is this area of that section.
okay. I was trying
You
to
don't
find
have to
out the
think
whole
about it
time.
that deep. All you have to do is the math. It don't matter where it is. It just matters that you know how many times you have to divide and if you have to add it together or not. That's what you have to know. Doesn't matter
Okay.
where it is or what it is. It just matters that you know it's a section and you have to find out this side of it and that side of it. And you have to add it together. Okay.
Got it.
So now one more number you have to remember, and you'll see a question on this for sure. When you're calculating square feet and cost per acre, okay, the amount of square feet in 1 acre is 43,560. You have to remember that number. So when you're calculating a cost per square footage, you have to divide the selling price by 43,560 square feet per acre to get your cost per square foot. So here's an example. 1 acre of vacant parcel of land sold for $65,340. So you have to take the selling price, $65,340. You divide it by 43,560 square feet, and it tells you it was $1.50 per square foot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Right. So you bought a piece of property, 1 acre, or if you say you bought 20 acres for $150,000, you would have to take $150,000 and then you have to multiply 20 acres times 43,560, get that number, divide that, and that'll give you a price per square foot. That's a little more complicated, right? Because you have to find out there's 43,560 per square foot per acre. But if you have 20 acres, you got to multiply it, right? And then you do the division, and then it breaks it down. Okay.
Got it.
So additional survey measures when it comes to lot and block. You have to remember an acre is 43,560. Okay. That's square feet. Okay. How many acres are in a square in the mile? 640, right?
640. Yeah.
Right. So 640 acres times 43,560 is how many square feet are in a mile?
A lot.
A lot, right? So we could do it quick. This is just to show you how the numbers work. 43,560 times 640. There's 27,878,400 square feet in a mile. That's just, you don't need to know that for this. I'm just showing you how to do a calculation. Half a mile would have 13, you know what I'm saying? See what I'm doing? Quarter mile,
I don't
just so
think-
you
I don't
know if
think
you
that's
need to
right.
figure it. What's that? At?
You're saying there's that many feet in a mile?
Square feet. Right? Because 1 acre is 43,560. In a square mile, not in 1 mile, in a square mile, Aiden. 1 mile by 1 mile.
Okay, I misheard.
Right here, see? 640 per square mile. Right? See? 640 acres in that square mile. So if you have, you know, a square mile, 640 acres, how many square feet? 43,560 times 640. I'm just giving you calculations in case you know, see something. Okay, and a benchmark. Remember, in meets and bounds, they had a monument, right? In lot and block, the permanent reference mark affixed to an iron post or brass marker is used to establish the elevations. It's called a benchmark in this. So you have to know benchmark, lot and block, monument, meets and bounds. If you see something in a question, you know a monument's in meets and bounds, you know a benchmark is in a lot and block, right? You got to remember that. Okay. So do you have it? Not lot and block in what you call it? Give me a second, hold on. In the government survey. Government survey has benchmarks. Lot meets and bounds has monument, okay?
All right.
All right, are you clear on that? We're gonna go over more of that. Like, are you clear on that now for good? Like, are you okay with that one?
Yeah, I just have to
Yeah, you got to
yeah.
remember the 640. You got to remember divide
Oh
by how
no.
denominators. Like that. You need to know that stuff.
Yeah, that I don't have a lot of issues with. I understand the math and all that. The only thing that I'm
560. That
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, all of the math situation I understand. I may not necessarily understand what
Okay.
it does, but I know how to do it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's exactly what you need to know. And then
yeah,
as you
yeah,
go through it, you're gonna learn more. Yep.
yeah. I may need to research it because my brain just needs to know.
Yeah.
But
It's a lot of
um,
information. A lot of
yeah,
information.
it is. The benchmark and the monument, that part, like I understand that one of them pertains to one,
Right.
like
Let me
the
explain what it
benchmark.
is. Right.
Yeah,
So remember, you have a point of beginning in meets and bounds. That point would have a monument. And then where it takes you to the next point, that would have a monument. And the next point would have a monument and a monument. And there'd be metal things in the ground. So you can actually draw a line from those metal things. And it
okay,
would give you the property. A benchmark does the same thing. It'll be at the areas. And if you connect them with the string, it'll give you the property.
got you. So those are like the marks that pretty much show the boundaries of said
Yep.
property.
You ever
Okay.
see on property, there's like a little metal thing with a flag on it?
Perhaps.
I have them here outside here because they just sold the property next door and they put marks in. There's a little metal rod with a little flag on it, and it shows you the boundaries of that property.
Gotcha.
Next time you're here, I'll show you. You'll see. That's this one. They're actually benchmarks out here. I can show them to you next time you come by.
Sounds good.
Yep. Good. All right. So that takes care of that type. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is lot and block. Okay. Lot and block numbers are used only where plat maps have been recorded. So when you record a plat map, that has to be a development, right? That's like in a subdivision or a development.
Mhm.
Okay, so in Florida, you'll see where there's plat maps, where there's developments, it's lot and block. Like the 2 houses I'm selling now down in St. Cloud, it's lot 64 and lot 65. It's lot and block. It's in a new development. There's a plat map. There's all that for that. Okay. Again, this is used only where plat maps have been recorded. Okay, it's a platted subdivision and it's divided into large areas called blocks. Blocks are divided into lots and lots are numbered. Okay, so blocks can be either numbered or lettered. Okay. A plat map is an engineer's plan for land use on a map of land. It provides for dedication of streets, parks, and school sites. Do you remember what dedication is? We talked about that.
Definitely like lakes. Yeah, all those things.
What was it? Say it again.
Well, yeah, dedication is when a developer gives part of the land to the government so they can either provide them with services for that
And maintain it,
area
right?
and maintain it. Yeah.
Right. So dedication would be the streets, the parks, school sites, like signs, like the
Lakes.
like exactly. Right. So
Mhm.
they can dedicate all that if they want to.
Yeah.
Okay. It also shows dimensions for the lots. It shows the streets planned. It shows where they're going to put the streets, where they're going to put the sidewalks, where they're going to put all that stuff. Okay. It shows where the improvements are going to go. And it's recorded under the subdivision name by book and page number. There'll be a book and page number that you can look up and you can see it. You can see the plat map. Okay. Now you have tax maps. Okay. Each parcel of land within a tax district is assessed for tax purposes. So each parcel is assigned a partial ID number. They call them PIN numbers, or they can call it an assessor's partial number. Okay, so every property, when we look at it on the tax record, has a PIN number. And that PIN number is what we use to pull the property, look it up, see everything about it, see if the taxes are paid, see if there's permits pulled. Everything is under that PIN number for that property. The PID's used to prepare tax maps. That's what the whole idea of it is. So every lot has a PID number. So lot 64, lot 65, the houses we're selling has PID numbers for them. Okay. The information is used to prepare the tax roll and send out, so they know what the cost of the taxes are. PIDs are sometimes used also to identify a partial. Okay. That's also put on the property description when we do it on the contracts. And I can show you that later. Okay. Second here. Okay. And that's the last section for the section 10. Do you have